everybody, I'm Leora Sims. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another episode of my Sims 4 Law and Order SVU series. If you missed any of the previous episodes, please go back and watch them, and please pay attention to the information provided in the description of the video, especially if you or someone you know is in need of help. That's why the information is there. This is season number 3, and today I'm going to again talk about domestic financial abuse. The last time I talked about domestic financial abuse, I forgot to mention that if your partner refuses to let you see your bank accounts or shared bank accounts, this is considered financial abuse. Last time I mentioned, when talking about financial abuse, that an abuser will stop you from getting your necessities, will stop you sometimes from receiving medical care and from getting food. But sometimes abusers will give allowances, give money because you are dependent on their money. And when they give money, when an abuser gives money, they make the abused partner account for every penny. So if an abuser sends their partner to the grocery store to pick up something for dinner, they better not have picked up shampoo or something that the abuser does not want. And if they do, the abuser will get angry. Another thing that I thought of after I recorded my first financial abuse video is transportation. If you have ever had to ask for a ride, you understand that if you have transportation, that is a form of freedom. That means that you can get around, whether you have a car or you have access to public transportation. But if you have transportation, you have freedom. So an abuser will often make sure that you do not have transportation. And I consider this financial abuse. They will make sure that you do not have transportation or make your transportation very difficult. Maybe you are in a household, for example, that you have only one car. Well, the abuser will make sure that they are always using the car. And if you do work, the abuser wants to be responsible for picking you up from work and taking you to work. That way they know that you got to work, but they control the transportation. And one thing I also didn't mention in the last video is that an abuser who does not want you to have a job or go to school will not only tell you not to go to school or not to go to work, they can sabotage your job. If you only have one car, for example, and your abuser does not take you to work because he or she wants you to be limited in your movements, then they may take you to work late. And if you go to work late enough times, then you can be fired. Or they may come to your job to make sure that you're there, and they may cause a scene because ultimately they want you to be fired. It's important to realize that most abuse starts out slowly, so a lot of times you may not notice it. You may meet somebody while you have a job and feel that they are very attentive when they show up at your job, but then it can turn into something else. There was an episode of Law and Order SVU that talked about a whole other form of abuse, but the woman in the episode was married to the abuser, and when the marriage, when she was ready to leave the marriage, she thought that she would have to go to a homeless shelter because her husband never gave her any of the financial information. She didn't know how to pay the mortgage, in other words, and he had all of the passwords. And Olivia Benson told her what to do, and she was not forced to leave the home. I will be back with gameplay. I'm back, and Olivia Benson is very frustrated because she met this young woman who she believes is being abused, and she can't prove it, and the woman does not want to come out and say anything specific. This is Tally Weaver, and Olivia is going to ask her how she's doing. She's going to give her some hope for a brighter future. She's going to tell her a dramatic story. Sometimes Olivia inspires people to leave bad situations by telling them of another story, of another person. Of course, leaving that person's name out and most of the details out because of confidentiality. So to say, this woman was a woman was abused and her life became better. after she left. Something like that. So give her the beginning of the story and the end of the story. Okay, and now what? Can can uh can we get to know this sim anymore? I think Olivia has one more trait to learn about her, but I don't see the option get to know. So I'm going to try deep conversation, which sometimes works. And maybe that's how we'll get the last trait. Get to know. And they are at New York Bakery or NY Bakery. Is she going somewhere? Don't go anywhere. Can we call this woman back? Fire her up a little bit. Maybe that will give her the courage to leave a bad situation. Olivia doesn't know all of the details. In fact, she knows very little of the details of Tally's relationship with her husband. But she just has a gut feeling that it's not a good relationship, and she wants Tally to open up a bit more. But she can't do anything to help her unless she's willing to leave. And convincing an abuse victim to leave is sometimes very hard because people do love their abusers. Not all the time, but um, you can love the person who abused or abuses you. You don't love them for abusing you. You love them for other reasons, and a spouse could be charming in the beginning, and you could fall in love with that spouse, and then things change. There's a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people, but some people are not abused um, physically, emotionally, or any other type of abuse until after the marriage, because the abuser is able to keep their abusive personality under wraps. So I'm going to see what Olivia knows about Tally Weaver. So she knows that Tally Weaver has a spouse named Russell Weaver. She is an artist. She is only working from home right now. She is a music lover. She is good, and she is family oriented, which makes her extremely loyal to her husband, who Olivia has not met. I think Olivia wants to meet this guy before she passes judgment. I'm ending this episode here, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. Be happy, healthy, and stay safe.